Reliance is down. So, mind you, the big boy is actually correcting a little bit in the session. This gave the support last week. But look at what's doing well. IT, so Tech Mahindra, Wipro, there is TCS, Infosys, all of them doing well. HDFC Bank with this 1.2% up move is actually the biggest point contributor on the Nifty as well. But aside of that, other financials like Bajaj Finance, Grasim Ultratech have also participated, and select consumption like HUL has done okay. More green than red, very little losers. Reliance probably the only one sulking. Samina, you couldn't have asked for a better morning, except for the fact that somehow mid caps and small caps are doing even better.
I think a great afternoon as well, Niraj. Look at Europe. Most of the European markets are up nearly 2%. Now, we'll attribute it to the French results or to Indian markets giving them a solid lead. Whatever it is, it's looking like a fairly cheerful Monday morning. The broader markets are outperforming, and that seems to be a little bit of a comeback of sentiment with regard to domestic investors. Last week, when you had the Nifty make a significant new high and gained over 3% in trade, it was the large cap that took leadership. Of course, it's going to be the fifth straight, or rather, of course, Friday we took a break. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the market made record highs. Friday was a day of consolidation, and Monday again seems to be a day when the Nifty is going to be going in at a record close. The Nifty 50 is up 0.5%. The mid cap, small cap, and the micro cap index are all doing quite well in today's day of trade. Sectorally, the day belongs to IT stocks, and this is on back of the fact that inflation data that came in from the US was priced to perfection. What I mean by that is that it was slightly lower than last month, and clearly building in the expectation or retaining the expectation that a Fed rate cut is around the corner. So on back of it, you're seeing a big bump up coming in across IT stocks. They've been the defensive play and the underdogs for quite some time now. But across large cap and mid cap IT, it seems to be celebratory, to say the least, reflecting the sentiment that you'd imagine on traders on Wall Street as well. Well, in terms of stocks, there's no specific trend apart from the ones that I just highlighted. There are a few handful of counters that are gaining in pockets. I'll start with on back of order wins. So my one of the bigger favorites of the street has been defense stocks. And this morning we woke up to BEL, Cochin Shipyard and Garden Reach all winning big orders. But it was only Garden Reach that hit a record high in trade today. 10% is what the stock went up. Very clearly traders preferred Garden Reach to Cochin Shipyard or BEL for intraday trade. Record high on Garden Reach Shipyard is what we have. A few other stocks that are doing quite well in trade today. If I can start pulling those up, that should be useful. While the street was, while India was focused on watching the match, it was also moviegoers that are helping PVR Inox this morning. Rather this afternoon, Kalki opened to a stellar box office performance, on back of which PVR Inox is seeing a gain of 5% Atul Autos, the season of sale numbers, auto sale numbers of the month are rolling in. Most have been in line with expectations, so no major reaction coming in on auto sales, barring Atul Auto. Smaller counter, but it's a smid. 20% up move on numbers that seem to have impressed the street in terms of performance for the previous month that's gone by. Well, apart from that, Irida business update came in. They're looking at an FPO, we believe, on back of which the stock is up 3%. I'm not sure what else do we have that's buzzing this afternoon, but you've got Wockhardt. This definitely is the stock of the day, right? Friday saw the counter gain 5%. There was an expectation of a big announcement from Wockhardt. Dr. Kurakiwala kept up to those expectations and delivered an announcement that has, of course, got the street very excited. What is Wockhardt doing? They are launching a drug called Zanuck. The market for that is $25 billion. It's a drug for cancer patients, and it's going to be launched in the US in FY26 at a massive discount price. And that is what's getting the market very excited about Zanuck and hence Wockhardt. The stock is hitting upper circuit today. Remember, its circuit has been revised from 5 to 20%, and hence you're seeing the euphoria on the stock from the get-go this morning. So Niraj, it's an exciting morning. No sectoral trends barring IT, which I'm guessing is cheering the Fed's hopes of a Fed rate cut once again. But apart from that, auto sale numbers muted, but Wockhardt is what we've talked about from the get-go this morning.
Crazy moves there on stocks. You know, the other one, Samina, you pointed out Atul Auto, right? Imagine this 20% uptick or whatever number that it's trading at right now, but it's on an upper circuit, if I'm not wrong. Again, a stock on an upper circuit. 100% growth each of the months of the current calendar for the current fiscal. So quite stunning, really, what's happening to sales numbers. Emin Kapadia of KR Choksi Securities, Stocks and Securities with us on the charts. And Emin, great to have you. Good afternoon. How are you looking at this market? Because we are now nearing the point of resistance of last week. Can the Nifty break out from here? And if you're not trading the Nifty per se, are you trading the Nifty Bank or Nifty IT?
Very good afternoon to you, Niraj. Thank you for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure. I think you're right. We're just on the cusp of that. So I think currently the Nifty seems to be a shade better than the Bank Nifty. But both seem to suggest a small decline. I'm not saying too much, maybe a day or two, because some of the oscillators aren't supporting this move. So if there is a small decline coming in just 24 hours or something, then I would take a contra buy call. But currently, like you said, we're close to the resistance level. Reliance is cooling off. HDFC Bank is still not broken out. Kotak could break out, not yet. So a lot of the big guns are falling silent, albeit for the time being. So if that gives a 1 or 2 day cool off, I think time to recoup and then go long. So currently, I would not like to trade the indices because they are not a short, but something seems not right for long at this point in time without some further price action.
Got it. So in which case, let's leave the indices out. Let's talk about specific stocks. Hemant, what are you trading this afternoon?
Okay, couple of stocks which look interesting. First one is Hindustan Unilever. Lever has fallen off the cliff from 2117 to 2420. Has formed a rounding bottom on the daily chart. Indicators have turned positive. Stock is turning. We are setting the stage for the rebound from here. So one can buy HUL at 2505, stop loss 2455, target of 2605. The interesting one is ACC. It's a dark horse. Why it's a dark horse, Niraj? 22 weeks. 22 weeks of a rounding bottom, doing nothing. And if I were to stretch this timeline further, Niraj, 3 years and nothing. What I mean to say nothing, it posted an all-time high in September 22, Niraj. Since then, we've gone nowhere. And if I take the whole and then it fell to a low of 1592, I'll just take 30 seconds more. So if I were to go back in time and sort of extrapolate a bit, since December 20, ACC hasn't done much. Now it's trailing at the leash on the cusp of a breakout. Breakout hasn't happened. Historically, it has never sustained about 2750. It might have posted a higher high, but hasn't sustained about 2750. So I believe we're on the verge of a breakout, if not this week, next week, or the week after that, assuming the markets remain positive. So if 2750 gets taken out, I have a buy call at 2750, stop loss 2600, target 3050, but it's a very modest target. The stock will go past 3300. So it's a powder keg. It's sitting on the verge of an explosive move. Hasn't yet happened, but if it happens, it's going to have a blazing move.
Okay. Well, ACC2 is up 5%. Interesting. I wonder if Ambuja has reacted too. But clear gains out there for Ambuja ACC2 in the session today, Samina.
Oh, it's a party, to say the least, right? The gains are just not stopping while we keep talking about a much talked about correction.
But India Cements is down today, interestingly.
After a 30-40% up move, I'm not surprised. What's happening on Ultratech? Let's see what Ultratech is doing.
Ultratech is up, Shree Cement is up, ACC
Ambuja is up, ACC
India Cement. So the acquirers are higher. The targets are not quite doing that.
Which is the other way around, it should usually be, no? But nevertheless, I think it's the market seeking a theme and just seeking opportunities. But one stock that goes way beyond that has been Wockhardt. Fantastic up move on Friday. We were aware that there was going to be a big announcement coming in from Dr. Khorakiwala. And guess what? He talked about a drug called Zenic, whose market is $25 billion worldwide. They are going to be launching Zenic, which is a cancer-fighting drug in the US at a deep discount. The stock has gained 25% since then. Mika is standing by with more on that. Mika, the news that we're hearing on Wockhardt is making analysts extremely optimistic, right?
Yes, the stock has been gaining for the second consecutive session. Intraday, it's hit its upper circuit at 20%. And the stock has gained over 36% in the last 5 days, and this is all because of Zenic, which is what you rightly mentioned. Now, what the company has announced that the successful use of Zenic was done on a young immune-compromised cancer patient, and Zenic is currently under the multinational phase 3 study. Now, a little bit about this antibiotic. It's the research and trials on this have been progressing well, and the company does expect the final approval from the Indian regulators to launch this antibiotic by FY25 end, and the company then expects to launch the antibiotic commercially soon after, and is also expecting similar timelines on the developed market fronts. Now, like you mentioned, Xanax market potential is at $25 billion, and the company plans to sell this antibiotic at 1/10 of the price in the developed markets, and they're going to primarily target pneumonia patients. The company is also heavily investing in the research and development of this drug as well. Recently, the company raised 480 crores via an equity capital fundraise, and $25 million from this recent fundraise were used for the R&D for the drug, and 100 crores were utilized to reduce the company debt.
Well, that's the Wockhardt story. The fundamental news flow couldn't get better. Himen, how do you feel about this one? 25% movement in the counter from Friday morning. I guess it's upper circuit right now, but if one gets an opportunity tomorrow morning, would you recommend a constructive call, a long trade on Wockhardt?
I don't like to chase stocks, Samina, at least not without a correction. So I would be slightly reticent in recommending a call without a decline. But yeah, if there is this third gap, that fourth gap, Samina, that makes me queasy and uncomfortable. So on a cool off, yes, I believe we are heading towards 980 or so. But without a correction, after four gaps, upward gaps, maybe there is momentum, maybe it goes up, but I'm not sure if the risk-reward ratio would be in the favor. So I would say no, not without a correction. But the way I see it, further upside seems like a very distinct possibility, Samina.
Sorry, the further upside seems to be a very
distinct possibility.
Distinct possibility. But, that's the beauty about, experienced viewers. I mean, he's saying that the risk reward may not be in your favor. And remember, he's not looking at it fundamentally. He's looking at it from a charts perspective. Fundamentally, the event that has happened is interesting. And if you needed to know more about it, here are what Habil Khurakiwala, the founder of the company, had to say 3 days ago when we spoke to him on the use of the drug Xenic.
They have given us a break point of 64. And for all our 10 organism in which is a broad spectrum gram negative, for all of them it is given 64. No drug has ever been given high break point of 64. And the higher the break point, it means the drug is more safe and it is more effective in all cases.
Well, interesting there. So some medical terminology which we may not quite understand, you don't quite know what the piece would be, but clearly somebody in the market knows something. For if you look at the volumes today relative to the volumes over the last few days as well, you will see that. I think it'll be really interesting to see what the delivery percentages in today's session are as well. We know that in Friday's session, the stock had started off on a 5% upper circuit from the beginning and and had stayed that way. It'll be interesting to see what happens today. I think we'll get some analysis on that tomorrow. But watch out for Wockhardt for sure. All right, we take a break. On the other side of the break, we decode some of the key June auto sales numbers with Mayur Malik of Asian Market Securities. Stay tuned. All right, back with India market close right here on NDTV Profit. Now, a pocket that is very active, obviously, is autos by virtue of all the news flow that has happened. Bajaj Auto, above estimates. Maruti, marginally above estimates, if I'm not wrong. And I think those stocks, Bajaj Auto, off the highs of the day, but still 0.5%. Maruti had a bit of a spike before cooling off. Atul Auto, as Samina pointed out, up 20% as well. So a lot of these stocks are active today. Mayur Milak, who looks at this space closely from Asian Market Securities, joins us right now on the show with what has he thought of the numbers that have come out thus far. Mayur, good having you. Good afternoon. What did you make of the auto numbers thus far that have come out? What stood out for you?
Yeah, so I think, tractors have come pretty much in line. I'd say that seasonally June is a good month for tractor dispatches. But as far as Bajaj and Maruti, I think you're reading them right. They are marginally above what we estimated. But clearly looking at the retails that have happened, it seems that it is more of an inventory jack-up rather than believing that these are retail sales. So yeah, I think marginally up, but wouldn't really take it in a very positive stride, to be very honest.
Sorry, so you are saying that the likes of Bajaj, Maruti, marginally better numbers, but nothing too great about them because two-wheelers have been in a bit of a downtrend, right? So that's the analysis.
Yes, so I think when we did our channel check at ground levels, retails particularly, so June ideally has been almost 18 to 20% lower than May sales as far as retail registrations go with dealers. Any dispatches that happen over and above that will just add to the already high dealer inventory.
Mayur, one stock that's getting a thumbs up in the street is Atul Auto on back of its numbers. Smaller but nevertheless significant. What do you make of those monthly sales from Atul Autos?
We don't track Atul Auto officially.
And Mayur, just digressing from auto companies, I'll talk to you about the picks in the sector that you have. But do you have an opinion on what's happening with tire companies as well? Because all through Friday, we saw heavy buying emerging in the tire space. Is it just sector rotation, or do you feel like things are turning around for tire stocks? And if there's anything you like there?
No, so fundamentally, we have a sell on all tire names. But I think what you're pointing is right. If you look at the last 2-3 months particularly, all the auto anchors except the tire space have seen a very smart rally. So I guess the gap between the tire valuations and the other auto anchors was significantly quite high. I think this is more like a catch-up game on valuation rather than a fundamental story. So I think I'll go with this is the momentum play rather than a fundamental reason really to look into tires.
Right, that's the word on tires. What about I don't know whether you track the likes of a Castrol, but that stock as well is catching our attention this afternoon. Don't have a constructive one on this one either. Your top auto picks, if you have any?
Yeah, so looking at the election, it clearly looks like you're now looking at so we as a house are looking at a rural theme. We think the focus on agri and agri-allied will come back. So looking at that and the government's focus on Maharashtra, UP, Bihar, particularly these 3 states, which contribute almost 33 to 35% of auto sales, we pick up the beneficiaries likely to be Hero, Mahindra, Maruti, TVS. These would be our names that, we are keen on in terms of playing out the rural theme.
As we speak, by the way, the June auto sales data for Ashok Leyland is on your screen. Domestic sales is down about 1%, and I believe the other sales numbers as well. Total sales is down 2%. It's a surprise because as per consensus estimates, month on month and YOY both, Ashok Leyland was going to show an uptick of 3% and 6% respectively. The stock is duly reacting 2.5%, now 2.6% down on the back of those numbers. Mayur, any thoughts on CV names by and large in Ashok Leyland particularly?
So, we've done our channel checks with the logistic guys again, and what we understand is that freight rates continue to be good for them. So I would want to believe profitability is on the high. Diesel prices have been quite steady over the last 3 to 6 months. So I will not really read too negative into, our individual monthly dispatch. But I think the momentum right now in the medium and heavy space and commercial vehicles seems to be okay. While we do believe that FY25 may be a peak year and you may really have to time your fundamental exit or book profits into these names, But by and large, as of now, I think the momentum is good as far as the freight rates are concerned, and that is why the profitability of the logistic industry should be good, which should support medium and heavy commercial vehicle demand.
Okay. Mayur, just one question. Just bringing it back to the June auto sales numbers, fair and square. Maruti, I heard you say that not very impressive, but the expectations, the consensus was an expectation of a 2% gain in sales. They have upped that by about 12% by virtue of SUVs and exports doing well. That's not a good enough number?
No. So to be very honest, I think more than these wholesale dispatches, these are dispatches from the company to dealers. I think what is important to watch out is what is really happening at the retail registration level, right? So if you look at the Vahan data, it doesn't really suggest June sales to be very high. In fact, I would want to believe that June sales are actually lower by almost 15 to 20%. Which tells you that even if domestic dispatches are high, these are only getting added up in the inventory. That is why I said that as long as the retail sales really don't come back, these numbers really don't make too much of meaningful sense on the estimates as such.
I'm not sure if you track this, but battery manufacturers Exide and Amara have both extended very sharp gains. There's been a partnership with Goshen for Amara Raja batteries. But of course, you have the likes of Morgan Stanley that still prefer the Exide. In your opinion, do you track either of these or both of these? What is it that you like if you track these?
So we do not have official coverage on the same, but just as a theme, I think the real reason of these batteries really coming back as a play was largely because the slowdown in EV has gradually led the street to believe that it is not the end of the road for lead acid batteries and they still have a good 10, 12 years of life to go. So I think that is why that was the first comeback. And then, of course, these tie-ups. But I think these two tie-ups, both from Exide and Amara Raja, really too early to believe because nothing really has happened at the ground. I think once the investment starts coming in, the plans are rolled out, and then possibly we will be in a position to identify what is the growth momentum here. So I'll reserve my comments on the stock price as such.
Okay. Well, the ticker seems to be loving you, Mayur, because as we speak, the Eicher Motors data is also out. VECV is up about 10.6%, the total VECV sales. But I don't know Royal Enfield numbers. If they've already come, maybe I've missed them, I don't know, but I don't see the Royal Enfield flash on your screen. But the VECV sales up about 10%. Again, for Royal Enfield, Mayur, at least it was expected that they'll come off soft. VECV about 10% higher. Any thoughts on Eicher Motors before we wrap up this conversation?
So yeah, I think what you said is right. Again, our channel check with large dealers really suggests that the channel inventory is high. June retails are a little subdued. I will not really raise a red flag here. I think the momentum or the money is now being shifted into, the agri side, and we possibly will now see a strong demand really come back only post 15th of August. But I think the word that we hear from dealers in street is they are actually expecting growth to come back. So I think looks steady state at this point in time.
Thank you very much for joining us. That is a perspective coming in on auto sale numbers. A little bit of a disappointment from what we see, but nevertheless, auto ancillary is seeming to be the theme that the markets are enjoying for now. Auto sector is up about 0.5%. You've also got numbers from Aisha that have just trickled in, which are looking largely in line with what the street was expecting. Himain, you want to comment on auto stocks? Is that they're not doing anything this afternoon. In fact, from the get-go, the stock reaction has been very muted. But auto ancillary seems to be a trader favorite. So it was batteries early part of last week, followed by tires on Friday. And today you have the likes of Castrol Oil actually doing quite well. So anything in the auto ancillary pack that looks good for a short to medium term buy?
Well, Samina, on a lighter note, we should contact a mechanic and say which parts of a car are left so we can focus on those. But seriously enough, like you mentioned, the auto stocks have taken a breather because whether you look at Bajaj Auto, you look at Eicher, you look at TVS Motor, you look at Tata Motors, Samina, and I think most of them have had a phenomenal move. So like you said, it's percolating down to the ancillaries, but there is one auto stock I believe that has been consolidating for some time, Samina, and hasn't done much relatively. Not done much is a misnomer, but relatively. We've been consolidating over here for around 20 weeks or so. Samina, Tata Motors has been relatively somnolent, not done much, completed 4 months of a correction, and is now the technical green shoots are visible only on the short term. I mean, short term, I would say daily charts. The medium term weekly charts are just about getting the act together. So this is one thing. So one dark, I wouldn't say dark house, but something which is corrected for a decent period of time. The time taken is not commensurate with the decline. So what I mean to say is, it's taken 4 months, but the decline has been very shallow. So the undercurrent is strong. So I believe if you have a view for the next 6 months, Tata Motors is something which you can look at. Support comes in at 915, 920. So that would 920 would probably quantify the stop loss, but looks very interesting. The story could take some time to play out, but after 4 months and a decent correction, I think there's not much to lose, Samina.
Right, 1,000 rupees on Tata Motors. In fact, it's done okay from levels of 960. That's when it was 960 during its earnings season, and then corrected sharply. But now finally, back on the winning streak. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll track the last half an hour of trade. It's been an exciting Monday, so no Monday blues for these three at least. Stay tuned for a lot more on the other side.
All right, back with India market close right here on NDTV Profit. Let's go across to Agam, who's standing by to break down the FNOQs for us and how is day 2 of the new expiry, the new series look like. Agam, what is the data suggesting? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Well, we haven't made a new life high, but it's nearly there. And it's turned out to be a good trading session for everyone who's long in the markets, where we continue to make advances as far as the benchmarks are concerned. The Nifty currently at a 24,144, 145. Remember, the life high is about 30 points higher than this level. So it's as good as done. If not today, then tomorrow. It's not going to take too much to make another life high. That said, we're seeing an increase in open interest in the Nifty futures along with the Bank Nifty futures, and it does seem like that all these are towards longs at the moment. Even if you consider the option or open interest picture, we have seen more traction in puts as compared to calls. And if you see it from an options writer point of view, that means that there have been more puts being written, which means that there's an expectation of the markets to move higher from an options writer point of view. And 24,000 now becomes an even firmer base in the near term. On the higher end, of course, we'll continue to keep an eye on 24,500. Finally, coming down to stocks, again, more gainers than losers. Longs in MGL, Oracle Financial Services, Syngene International, Maruti Suzuki. And among stocks which are seeing unwinding, we have short covering for Coforge, Birlasoft, Wipro. In fact, today's been a day not just for the large cap IT companies, but a lot of your mid cap IT companies are also catching up significantly and in fact outperforming. So it's been one of those days. It's a wait and watch as to whether or not we continue to see strength and whether or not we make a new life high today, and if not today, then tomorrow.
Very, very likely, Agam, from the way it's looking. Even global cues that have come in this afternoon are so solid that there's really no major reason for the markets to start taking profits at this stage. 0.5% on the Nifty, 24,148 is what we have. It's pretty much holding on to that in the last few minutes as well. This one stock that stands out again today is Cholamandalam Financial Holding Company. I remember holding companies were the talking point last Monday, and this Monday seems to be no different. So Tata Investments early this morning, Chola Holdings as we see it, Bombay Burma continued to be gaining in trade this morning, this afternoon. Garden Reach is up 10% at the day's high point. JBM Auto is up 8%. JSW Infra is up 7%. Mid-cap tech, like Agam said, is looking good. Expectations of at least one rate cut from the Fed is keeping that sector alive or triggering the gains that we're seeing in the counter. Home First Finance is also trading with a 9% gain. On the sell side, you've got a few names that are seeing pressure. Motilal Oswal is down 4%. India Cement is also down 3.5%. It's the lone gainer in the cement pack. So you've got Ambuja, ACC, Ultratech, all looking good, barring India Cement, which saw big M&A activity in the second half of last week. Apart from that, Signature Global's had a good day, but you've got Prestige Estates that's down 3%, and 361 WAM. I don't know whether talking about it has jinxed the counter, but after a very solid 27% up move last week, this is the first time in the last 6 days the stock is seeing some profit taking that's emerging. It's not fallen off the cliff yet. It's down about 1.5% after making an intraday high of 1,018. Devain Choksi now joins us with his view on the markets. Devain, before I talk to you about auto stocks, one stock that we'd love to get a view on is Wipro. Dr. Korakiwal has talked about WCK 5222 or Zenek, like it's more commonly called.
You mean Wockhardt?
Sorry, what did I say?
You said Wipro.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Mixing up the Korakiwalas and the Premjis. But Wockhardt, Devain, how do you feel about the stock? Do you feel this further upside likely?
Yeah, good afternoon, Samina. And I was almost thinking that we might need Korakiwala to cover.
Well, Wipro also is a double upgrade by CLSA, so I'll talk to you about that too.
Well, honestly speaking, we don't have the coverage on Wockhardt, so would refrain from putting across any comments this point of time.
Come on, Wipro, Devain. Might as well while we're at it. The stock is up and about. Devain, if not Wockhardt, why not you tell us what you think about Wipro? CLSA has aggressively upgraded the counter, and it seems like IT is back in focus today.
Yes, absolutely. I think 2-3 things. One is a re-rating is on the cards, largely because of the fact that what we are going to be observing, and this would be interesting to observe in this current quarter's earning commentary from most of the management about the new contracts that they have been winning. And I think the declaration on that front particularly from the computing side of the activity, where we are likely to see the larger penetrations coming in also from the AI part of the new contracts. In fact, Nandan Nilekani other day already indicated for Infosys, and so is the case with TCS. We believe that I think in case of Wipro too, they have got several projects which are being worked upon on the AI orders that they have received. So that is where probably market wants to see the new narrative and listen to the new narrative, and that's where probably I think the some amount of excitement is around. Not completely sure how much it would reflect immediately into the immediate quarter results, but would like to believe that the downside is arrested as far as the inflow of orders are concerned. And from the performance perspective too, I feel that I think the upside should be seen more focused now going forward in subsequent quarters and the coming 2 years.
Right. Himain, I'll come to you in a minute on the charts. Okay, actually, Himain, why don't you tell us, in the IT pack, is there anything that you're constructive on, mid-cap, large-cap IT that you'd consider going long on at this price?
Samina, I think emphasis is something which has been relatively under the water, so to speak. Everything led by Persistent has done phenomenally well. But its emphasis, which has been, like I said, slightly underperforming. So I believe it will play catch up. We're at around 24.94. About 25.50, we're looking at a decent upside. And all systems are go. If you look at the oscillators, the volume last month, everything seems to indicate that emphasis has formed a base, is on the cusp of breaking out. So not much to lose. Stop loss is closer. There's always a chance of playing catch up. Yeah.
Well, we continue with the focus on IT, and because it's one of the top gaining sectors today, Rucha looks at the sector fundamentally. She scanned what brokerages are saying as well. And Rucha, just tell us about the demand environment and what to look out for ahead of earnings.
Thanks, Niraj. So I'll start with the demand environment first. Accenture reported a healthy growth in the managed services segment. Now, this is the segment which is relevant for Indian IT companies, and it reported all-time high bookings. So that is one green shoot for the Indian IT services space. Next, the brokerage house expects that the growth should be led by large deal ramp-ups and reduced intensity of cuts in the discretionary demand. Now, mind you that discretionary demand had been under pressure since a few quarters, but now the brokerage houses expects that there is an uptick in the discretionary demand, and even the managements are saying that they are seeing green shoots in discretionary demand. However, talking about the sectoral analysis, BFSI and telecommunications are the two verticals which are under pressure. This is because the banks are still spending on IT, but those spends are not being reflected in the revenue for the Indian IT companies. Now, talking about margins, subcontracting costs have already been at a very low level, so marginal upside from here can be expected, but not much. Wage hikes can also weigh heavy on margins. And lastly, the only lever which is left is the pyramid optimization and getting the freshers on the bench into the work now. Now, talking about the earnings calendar, TCS is set to kick off from the 11th of July, which is followed by HCL Tech and Infosys as of. So this is the calendar as of date. Now, what can one look out for in the results is the management commentary on discretionary demand, of course, but also on the pace of decision making. Are the clients looking forward for more cost optimization deals or vendor consolidation deals is what is to be watched out for. And next is the generative AI. So this is been the talk of the town, but what we have to look out here is whether the deals are being converted into the revenue or not, and also the guidance which Infosys and HCLT gives for the full year, and Wipro which gives the quarterly guidance. And lastly, brokerage houses are also expecting Wipro to possibly announce a buyback for the year. So this is what is broadly here for the Indian IT space.
Thanks, Rucha. Closer to the weekend, we'll try and get down to the exact specs and numbers of what's to be anticipated in the quarter. But watch out for some of these stocks. A stock that has seen a spurt. Now I'm looking at the breakout alerts on our software. And Man Industries, it's at 468. It's up 13% as we speak. So big sharp up move there and a spike in the last few minutes of trade. I wonder if Sharda Motors also has that kind of a move, because it did have that move earlier on in the day wherein it suddenly spiked up to about, it is still about 14% higher. So big move there. MGL, and we spoke about the gas companies. Look at Mahanagar Gas. This morning, we were talking about how gas stocks are showing a possibility of a price volume breakout on the trade setup. MGL, I wonder if IGL2 is moved up, but MGL certainly up there. IGL2 about 3% higher. So very sharp up move in these stocks as well. Deven, good afternoon. What's with these city gas distributors? Why such excitement?
Yeah, good afternoon, Niraj. Well, I think the amount of input cost related advantage is now basically playing the game. On one side, most of the CGD companies have higher amount of distribution reach which they have been creating rather. I think the one which is pretty remaining exciting is Adani Total Gas, where they have got the number of city distribution as well as I think the consumer connect remains on a significantly expanded size. So that could possibly give them the volume advantage, and along with that, the input cost advantage, particularly I think, is giving them the margin factor between. So from that perspective, these companies look probably relatively more safer at this point of time. We believe that I think both these advantages are probably now playing out well in this particular period. Immediately, we don't see any possibility immediately. I think on the hike in the immediate input cost price. So from that perspective too, I think this looks reasonably okay from the trading point of view, or positional trading point of view.
Okay. And even the same question to you. Big spike here, but these stocks had done very well in Friday's session too. Are they reaching some resistances, or do you reckon there is more upside ahead? Gujarat Gas, IGL, MGL.
Niraj, I'll go with MGL first. That's the easy one. Easy one because it's broken out, is at a fresh all-time high, clear blue skies, no known resistance levels. So, and the breakout level was 1580. Frankly speaking, we gave a breakout in the last weekend itself. And this is after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months of a consolidation, Niraj. So I believe 1920 is my target. Might be overshot as far as MGL is concerned. If I look at IGL, Niraj, similar story, but it's on the verge of breaking out. MGL broke out last weekend. 521 is the level to watch out for as far as IGL is concerned, Niraj. Last time we gave a closing above this level was somewhere in February 21. We gave a close some in September 21. So it's been like almost 4 to 3 years. Now we are breaking out. So whatever is driving them seems to have a lot more gas left, so to speak, pun intended. And as far as Gujarat Gas is concerned, Niraj, it is the slowest of the lot relatively, but an upward bar reversal last month, heading towards 720. So short-term, medium-term, long-term, ticking all boxes, indicators, averages, supports, everything working fine.
I can't not ask you about banking names. They took a little bit of a breather on Thursday, Friday, but the upward journey has been resumed. Bank Nifty is looking good, and the gains are coming from private sector banks as well. So HDFC, iBank are all trading well. HDFC above 1700. And even insurance counters aren't doing too badly. So ICICI Prudential, which is usually a boring stock, is seeing some movement today. How do you approach these counters? Remain on the charts.
Okay. Yeah, so HDFC Bank is one more jack in the box, so to speak. I don't know if he's spoken about this, Samina. Once again, I'll go back in time 3 years. 3 years and counting, 1260, 1725. We've not sustained above 75 after 5 attempts on the monthly charts as far as HDFC Bank is concerned. Yes, the private sector Bank Nifty gave a breakout last week, and it has grown from there. So if HDFC Bank, a blue chip stock, breaks out after 3 years of a consolidation, Samina, sky's the limit, but yet it hasn't yet broken out. So if 1725 gets taken out, we are going somewhere closer to 2200. And if that happens, I am not quite sure the bank Nifty is going to head, but it's going to head distinctly, clearly higher. And if I look at Kotak Bank, it has to play catch up. It's another big gun which has been silent for 3 years. Currently, the headache comes in at 1850. So some of these banks haven't performed as well as they should. ICICI, Axis, and maybe even SBI has. And not to add fuel to the fire, IndusInd Bank has done nothing over the last multiple years. So some of these things are very interestingly poised, Samina. So if these are going to break out, yes, you spoke about insurance companies, and yes, totally agree. Pru is a relatively boring stock. The interesting one is ICICI Lombard, all-time high, Samina. It gave an upward bar reversal last month, and now it's mildly consolidating, and we're heading at a further upside. So I think all of the insurance companies are certainly looking good. And if Lombard is at a fresh all-time high and continues to look good, I believe everything else would follow suit, and you would have some synchronization to catch up, and the sector itself should do better. Samina.
Okay, well, that's the view on the insurance stocks. A lot of spaces are buzz, as we said, and now real estate is also a buzz selectively. Of course, Signature Global is a specific stock that we're talking about. Was up 6%, currently up about 2%. The management spoke to us earlier. Here are what they had to say.
We've been witnessing fairly strong sales performance over the past few years. It's, to the extent of supply being created, it is being absorbed. So if you look at the last 4-year trends, our sales have grown at a CAGR of about, 62% on an annual basis. Last year, we achieved about 7,300 crores of pre-sales, and our target for the current year is about 10,000 crores. This was the first launch for the year by the company called Titanium SPR. This has a very good location, and Southern Peripheral Road is quite critical for the entire Gurgaon city, and we have a significant land position on this particular location. So the response has been very good, very buy-in. We've crossed about 2,700 odd crores of pre-sales, from this project itself.
And Godrej Property, Signature Global, a clutch of real estate names have been active today. Where are you most comfortable? Godrej Property is, by the way, off the highs of the day, but still. Devin, where are you most comfortable within this real estate pack? Is it real estate stocks or is it ancillaries?
I think the building material segment and the housing finance companies would be the relatively better choice to begin with, largely because of the fact that most of the building real estate companies are already, I think, pricing in most of the earnings that they are going to be having in 25 and also in 26. So that way, probably, I think headroom is comparatively less. Whereas I believe that the building material segment and the housing finance companies, they have a relatively higher amount of earning to offer. So some of the building material segment companies are also quoting expensive. I think today the time is to also play a little bit safe, because I think if you ended up buying expensive, then probably I think the wait could be even longer for you to get out of it. So to a greater extent, we believe that housing finance per se would be a space where you are likely to see a sustained growth, and maybe I think 3.5-4 years time, double the investment from the current level. That is a game that we are likely to see in these companies. So we play relatively safe at this point of time, though we acknowledge that the real estate companies per se are having fantastic time going forward. And if I go back and do some proper work, I think the city like Mumbai would be perennially under construction for next 30, 40, 50 years. I think this kind of opportunity is never seen in the economy. So that is what they are going to be experiencing. Some of the larger companies in the real estate space are likely to show much bigger growth going forward. Let the valuation become slightly more comfortable. I think it would be a better choice to buy thereafter.
Box up 10%. Mahanagar Gas up significantly. IGL also looking very good. Just to add to the list of gainers from the broader markets, PFC, REC, both trading with a massive gap up in trade. So lots of trades in the market. IEX Exchange, ION Exchange, both those counters also having a pretty good trading day. So Monday is all about new ideas, different ideas. Stocks that have not done very much in the last few days are suddenly catching trader attention at least. Now, fundamentally, we don't know what the news flow is on these stocks, but technically, it seems like there has been a bit of an up move. Himain, as we're getting closer to wrapping up trade, actually, before I come to that, I come to you for the last trading calls. We did get a chance to catch up and get a better sense of what's happening across the private capex cycle. In fact, Niraj landed up having a word with Gautam Chachoria. Here's what he had to say.
Now, traditionally, if you look at the last big capex cycle in the 2000s, that was more infra.
Yes.
Power and telecom and energy, a lot of that. And that matters it's a nuance because they are typically more capital intensive. So when we define capex cycle in dollar terms or rupee terms, how much money you spend, those sectors are more capital intensive versus setting up an automobile plant. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this cycle versus that cycle, that's a nuance to keep in mind. But this cycle, unlike the last cycle, also should have potentially more supply chain driven capex happening. So more scattered, more number of players trying to step up capacity and adding up possibly. But these are the two things to keep in mind. If we start seeing capex spending picking up in infra energy also, then it could become very, very strong, similar to what happened in that decade. But otherwise, for it to become a proper private capex cycle, this needs to be more broader based than what we saw that time. Because it's difficult for us to argue today that you'll see a big private capex cycle happening in power. We all remember the big surge towards setting up private power plants last time. It's difficult to replicate that because the context was very different. Similarly on energy.
Yeah, well, any pockets, some pockets that he spoke on. By the way, so these plus real estate ancillaries, APL Apollo came up with a 9% growth in Q1, and that stock too is firing today, up about 4%. Not firing in relative terms, because a lot of other stocks are really zooming in trade, but this one, after a long hibernation, seems to have picked up some steam. Let's wait and watch if there is more in store. Okay, time for some closing strategies and maybe one idea from Deven fundamentally as well. But Hemant, to you first, your top closing strategies.
BTST on Vedanta, Niraj. Everything seems fine on the hourly and 2-hourly charts. We are currently at 467. So one can buy at 467 with a stop loss of 463, target of 475. Risk reward ratio 1:2. BTST on Vedanta, Niraj.
Okay. And Deven, anything, ahead of results, anything that you are keeping an eye out for purely from the mid-size names? I know you have a lot of positive views on large names. We've spoken about Jio Financial, Reliance, Adani Enterprises. Today you spoke about Adani, Total. But some mid-size names, Deven?
One good company which we continue to have in our portfolio and which we picked up, I believe, last year. And we continue to like that company is... of course, that should be seen as a disclaimer also from my side. So we continue to like that company, which is called PT Engineering. I believe that I think this is one company which is closely connected with the entire ecosystem of capex cycle in the country. On one side, they supply the laminates which goes inside the motor, and those motors which are basically being manufactured by likes of ABB, Siemens, among others. And on the other side, I think different other applications, including in the pumps and other places, I think where this company has been, I think at the forefront of supplying the material. With the manufacturing facility also coming up in the backward integration along with, I believe that I think this one company looks reasonably good. However, one caveat, the valuation wise, everything is now fairly priced and discovered. So if you are asking me, generally, I would like to present an idea where I think I see a deep discount value available. Here out in this case, I think the last year it was available at a reasonably good value proposition. Today, I think most of it is in the price. So maybe correction in the market would be a better choice to buy companies like PT into the portfolio.
Himain, very quickly, I'm working with a buy today, sell tomorrow strategy only. But, you've seen these telecom stocks do quite badly post the tariff hike. Do you feel like tomorrow could be a day when they start bouncing back? Because there's no fundamental reason or trigger for them selling off.
I think the only trigger was buy on rumor, sell on news, Samina. So whether it's Reliance I'm particularly bullish on because, like I said, 21 weeks of a breakout. So that stock is not going to stop in a hurry. So, okay, it's not completely telecom as in telecom, but yeah, I believe if I were to give a pick and choose, I would prefer a Reliance Industries over a Bharti currently. Samina.
Reliance Industries over Bharti. Deven, I can't not ask you about Reliance, but I've only got literally 2 minutes. Quick one on RIR from you.
Well, I think in the checkbox, I think you find our items ticked properly. One, Geo platform, we are likely to see 20% plus kind of a CAGR growth into the revenue as well as EBITDA. On the other side, the retail portfolio of products, I think, which are their own products, own brands, generating higher EBITDA margin to them. They're likely to expand further. And unlocking of these two verticals cannot be ruled out going forward. Along with, I think, the renewable segment, which is getting into the commercial production and the launch somewhere in the end of this calendar year. So all in all put together, I believe that I think the company looks reasonably well set from the perspective of unlocking the value for investors.
Deven, Hemen, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining in today and giving us your thoughts. Really appreciate your time this afternoon. Have a great remainder of the day. Let's start wrapping up the markets. Fine fettle, you would add large caps, mid caps, small caps, Nifty 50 up 0.5%. Quite unexpected looking at what the rest of the Asian screen was looking like. But banks and IT have participated, and when IT participates along with banks, usually the markets tend to do well. Bring up the Nifty 50 gainers and losers, and then very quickly the Nifty 500 gainers and losers. I think those two charts will suffice for us today. This is what the point contributors are. Okay, for the Nifty, we'll make do with this. NTPC, L&T, Reliance, essentially the losers, but the gainers, banks and IT. That's effectively it. But keep in mind, some of the other infrastructure names like Ultratech and some of and a couple of others too have done well. But on the 500 list, the BSE 500 gainers and losers will come up on your screen next. And you see across the board, for a PB FinTech to be up 10%, MGL up 10%, holding companies up, a hotel company up 9%, Auto Angs and some other auto-related names like Castrol being up 8% as well. Very strong show. What's not done well? Some pullback in some of the brokerage names today. Motilal Oswal, IIFL, etc. are all down in trade. Some weakness in Prestige Estates as well. So those are a few names that sulked a bit in the session. Just need to mark Wockhardt before we wrap up. That stock had a blowout move today, up about 20%, along with a few others also, which did well, but this one clearly stood out in trade. That's it on this leg of India Market Close from Samina and me and the team that put this show together. Thanks so much for watching.